Hello everybody. Next up we play host to Aston Villa. Kick-off on Sundays at 2 p.m. with no official UK TV coverage that I can see. Carrier pigeon then, which will still be infinitely quicker than the Wi-Fi in the stadium. This is one game for which you might need an early start. There's no trains between Liverpool Street and Shenfield, and replacement buses are dropping off at Newbury Park. Also, one of those left-hand, not knowing what the right hand is doing things, of which rail engineering work planners are so fond of, the C2C is also suffering with work through greys, so check before you leave and all that. So Villa then, or not Sevilla, but so Villa then. Yes, since we last met, they've had a change at the helm, where Dean Smith was dismissed following a run of red ink in the results ledger. Fresh from his success at avoiding finishing third in a two-horse race, Steven Gerrard arrived, much to the delight of the local underworld, who are presumably glad to have someone local to act as character witness for the defence if they get caught. Smith might be looking ruefully at how the fixture list fell after his departure. Whilst it's fair to say that the Green Pen has come out a lot more since Gerrard arrived, one could have asked for more testing starts than Palace and Brighton in quick succession. In fact, once the new boss bounce had settled, they had a very patchy December and January. Indeed, from 14th December when they beat Norwich until 29th of February when they completed the double over Brighton, the only win they could muster was against hapless Everton. Since then, the ship has steadied a little. Including the Brighton win, they've won their last three with an impressive 4-0 win over Southampton, being followed by a more run-of-the-mill defeat of Leeds, who seem to be involved in a game of anything you can do, we can do worse with Everton, much to the delight presumably of Burnley. All of that has left Villa in 9th place, with 36 points from the 27 games they've played so far. Gerrard was given funds in the transfer window, £25 million of which Daisy tells me went on Lucas Dean, who told the Everton boss at the time, Rafa Benitez, that he no longer wanted to play for the club, unlike the rest of the squad who simply stopped playing without bothering to inform anyone. The transfer in of Callum Chambers from Arsenal for a reported £2 million was a little bit odd. On the face of it, getting any sort of fee in for a player who could go on a free in a few months would seem to be a bit of decent business for Arsenal. However, for months they'd been sitting on a clause that would have automatically extended the player's contract for a further 12 months, enabling them to pick a more meaningful fee. Perhaps they felt they owed the player something, in which case the non-exercise of the option was a nice touch. I prefer to think that they just forgot with all the stuff with Aubameyang going on. It's kind of funnier to look at it that way. Gerrard's contact book, no, not that contact book, meant the arrival of Philippe Coutinho, whose time at Barcelona hasn't all been milk and honey since his £100 million plus move from Liverpool. He spent last season out on loan at Bayern, picking up a so-called Champions League winners' medal in the process. Not long after his move from Anfield, his new home in Catalonia was burgled, which was a nice touch from the Barca locals to ensure that he felt at home. Villa will be pretty much at full strength, with only the almost literally splendidly named Marvellous Nkamba being out for another month or so. Now, I appreciate the cultural thing when it comes to naming offspring in certain parts of the world. However, you can't help but feeling that some parents are just setting up their kids for a fall in later life. One also wonders if the players might have siblings called, say, OK, I suppose, or, frankly, a bit of a disappointment. Perhaps we'll never know. Enough of all that. It's time to look again at the wild and wacky world of association football, and Chelsea continued to dominate proceedings. The authorities, after ignoring the possibly dubious manner in which the funds used to purchase the club were acquired, for at least 20 years, finally placed sanctions on Abramovich before his definition of the phrase net proceeds could be put to the test. At the time of writing, and things are changing rapidly, they can make no ticket or merchandise sales. And to show how quickly things are moving, a joke doing the rounds that Abramovich had had his Visa card rejected at Aldi was swiftly followed by a genuine story to the effect that the club had had all its plastic, that's credit cards rather than support, suspended. Other running gags involved supporters of other clubs being asked to take in Chelsea supporters. There's also said to be a £20,000 cap on travel expenditure, which makes it probably lucky they're at home to Newcastle this weekend rather than away. It's hard to feel too sorry for them, I'm afraid. Before the rubles arrived, the club had survived by virtue of a number of iffy dealings. Under the ownership of the notorious Ken Fry the Fans Bates, the club was based across a maze of holding companies, subsidiaries, trusts and the like, many of the trails going cold in Liechtenstein. Even prior to Bates, the Mears family were not shy of pulling a few strokes in their time. Given the club has always been a bit ends justify the means in its outlook, I guess that whilst it's depressing to hear their support chanting Abramovich's name, it's not much of a surprise. They simply don't know any different, bless them. Let's move on to us. Sevilla, well, not a bad performance, let down again by our finishing. This is something that has been our thing of late, I'm afraid. How many times in recent weeks have we had our heads in our hands shouting, "How did we not score there?" Lots, that's how many. Still, even if they hadn't scrapped the away goals rule, that wouldn't have been a bad result. And they have scrapped the away goals rule. I'll have more thoughts on the second leg in a few days or so. We missed Bowen in midweek, and he won't be back in time for this one. He'll join Soufal and Ogbonna on the sick. Yarmolenko's availability is entirely up to him, and rightly so. Apart from that, it's a case of as you were squad-wise. Which brings us nicely onto the prediction. Although they've won their last three, and that included a win against form horses Southampton, there seems to be an element of flat-track bully over the teams they've beaten. The Southampton match as well showed that there's only so far you can go relying on gullible referees, unless you're Liverpool, whose whole season is based on that theory. Villa will be full of beans though, but in recent weeks there's been a small glimmer of a return of the spark which has been missing from our game of late. We can't go on missing the sort of chances we have been missing, and one day they'll start to go in. I have an inkling that this will start on Sunday. By that I don't mean we'll score hatfuls, merely that we'll actually start to convert some of the chances we're making. So therefore I'll be placing the £2.50 that I was going to buy Chelsea with, and I want the change in sterling, mind. None of that ruble stuff, thank you. That instead will be going on a home win. Make it 2-1 to us, please, Mr. Winstone. Enjoy the game.
So we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.